Hello, and thank you so much for listening to the Teacher Business Podcast with me, your favorite English instructor, Professor Hampton. You're listening to episode number 2, Teacher Business 102. I know it's been 2 weeks since I posted the first podcast, and I left you with a bit of a cliffhanger. So I want to jump right in and tell you the story that I told you I was going to tell you in the first podcast. Yes, I told you in the first podcast that I would tell you in the second podcast the story of my lockdown experience. And unfortunately, as I'm telling the story today, this is November 30th, 2021, there has been yet another school shooting in Michigan. So if you are wondering why teachers are leaving the classroom and exploring ideas of entrepreneurship, and trying to discover businesses that they can actually maintain for a steady source of income, then this is probably the number one reason: school violence, and always wondering if one of your students are going to flip out, if some kid down the hall is going to flip out, who has a gun, who has a knife in your classroom. These are the realities of teachers and staff and everybody, the kids who are in schools these days. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and it's so unfortunate for everybody involved. But what's more unfortunate is the fact that this has become commonplace. So when I was substituting at a high school a few weeks ago, I had gone to lunch. And as I was coming back, I noticed that nobody was in the halls in the schools. Well, there were 3 people on the outside of the building, and the doors were locked because that's what they do now for security reasons. They keep the doors locked, but there's a security staff that's supposed to be right there at the front desk so that they can see you trying to get in. People in the office should be able to let you in as well. So 3 people are standing outside, and I peeked inside the doors, and the halls were dark and bare. And so this lady, African-American lady, was on the phone, and she said, "I'm on the phone with my cousin and he's telling me to just leave, but I gotta come here and give my child his information." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" "Well, supposedly there's been a shooting in the school." And I said, "Oh no." I turned around and headed back to my car. Did not ask questions. A school shooting? And so I'm driving down the road, but I'm calling this lady that I know who's a librarian. And she picks up the phone, and I said, "Listen, has there been a shooting inside the school? What is going on? The school is locked down. Can't get into the school. What's happening?" And she was very calm, and she said, "Well, all of the kids are in the gym. They can't tell if there was a shooting inside the school or outside of the school. But right now, everybody is in the gym, and that's probably why you can't get inside the school, because it's locked down." I said, "Okay, well, my goodness, what are we supposed to do?" So as I'm talking to her, there are cars just zooming out of the parking lot, into the school parking lot and out of the school parking lot. So what happened was, well, let me just say, I was seriously about to just go home. But I have too much integrity to just walk off of a job in the middle of the workday. So I went back near the school, but I was really like, listen, I can just go home and call the people, the substitute people, and tell them what happened and tell them I felt uncomfortable, and I'm sure everything would be perfectly fine. But I went back to find out that there was a shooting around the neighborhood surrounding the school, but because it was close, they just issued a lockdown for the school. And students, because a lot of them had their own cars, were leaving. Just leaving without notice, leaving without checking themselves out or being checked out by a parent. They were just leaving. So I'm like, oh my goodness. I go back to the classroom. It was an art class. Only about 4 kids showed up. Another teacher who was next door, pulled me outside and sort of let me know what was going on. And he said that most of his students left. He had about 13 students who just left and just did not return to class. They just went home. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just so much disorganization and disarray. The problem was not being able to tell if there was a shooting inside or outside of the school. So there were no active shooter protocols at this high school. They knew to go to the gym. Somehow they got everybody into the gym, which was good. But who's supposed to do what? Where are you supposed to go? Who's going to stop people from, well, you can't stop kids from just leaving the school in their cars. So then parents were checking out every 15 minutes. The office was on the intercom calling the names of students who were to be checked out. This was later in the day. It was about 2-ish o'clock. It was the latter half of the day. And so many students were being checked out. And I'm thinking, is this what education has come to? Is this what teachers go through on a regular basis? This sort of thing. Now, earlier that day, my morning classes were awful. I thought art class was sort of going to be laid back and the kids would just be doing their art. No, they were horrible. They were loud. They were ridiculous. They kept trying to test to substitute me, and I kept having to stand my ground with these kids. It was just terrible. They were telling me the real teacher, because subs are fake teachers. The real teacher couldn't even handle the class, the morning classes, because they were just naturally disruptive. The assistant principal came down. It just didn't matter. Those kids were just ridiculous. So that was another reason why I was just going to leave. After this whole we don't know where the school shooting is business, I was just going to go home and just not return for the latter half of the day. So that was my lockdown experience. But I kept going to schools to substitute. I thought, well, let me go to elementary schools to substitute. Those kids are horrible too. I listened to a 5th grader curse out a principal, literally curse words. Another came in demanding her phone from the principal. Give me my phone. You ain't doing nothing with it. What? This was at an elementary school. And I was substituting for the secretary because I'm thinking, let me go to elementary. Let me take some secretarial substitute jobs and not teacher substitute jobs. Did not make a difference. And so now we're talking about teachers moving from the classroom to entrepreneurship because there's got to be a safer way to make a living. There's got to be a less stressful way for teachers to make a living. One more note about that. I have a local Target store that I frequent a lot. And I was looking at this lady working the checkout, the self-check lane, and the way she was talking and just her whole disposition. I said, this is a teacher. She's a tall, dark-haired lady, sort of heavy set. And I said to myself, this is a teacher working in Target in the evenings. And sure enough, a few days ago, I heard her talking to a customer, and she said that she was a teacher. It is ridiculous that teachers have to work second jobs, evening jobs, in order to make ends meet. So you're dealing with the stress of lockdowns and kids cursing out principals and students going haywire, and you don't know if they have guns or knives on them. The whole stress of being on the front lines of the battleground of education. That's what it is now, a war zone. Then after all of that, at 4 o'clock, you've got to go to your second part-time job. It is utterly ridiculous. And so with all of that, I am here to talk about how I developed my business, Onyx Online Education and Training, from freelancing to online courses. So let's just take a deep breath for a second. That was pretty heavy, but it's the truth. And it's what teachers, unfortunately, are facing. So you heard me talk all about the development of my business in the first episode. When I decided to start freelancing and decided to submit for my DBA, Cornerstone Communications, I started editing and proofreading freelance for a variety of clients. In order to do that, I developed a website. Now, I am self-taught when it comes to web development. I started in the days of Front Page, Lycos, Angel Fire, Alta Vista, old school digital media. And then I just took it from there. I taught myself HTML. So I have always built my own websites. So I started with a fairly simple website with the intention of garnering clients for proofreading and editing. That website is easyedits.net. So I decided to call my freelance endeavors Easy Edits because I needed something to put on my business cards. So I either put Cornerstone Communications, then I thought, well, let me get really specific, Easy Edits Writing Services. So I developed a website that you can go and see today, www.easyedits.net. Here's the thing with domain names, because my very first domain name was the letter E, the letter Z, edits.net. But I thought that looks really scammy. I don't know if I would trust a website with this domain URL. I tried to get easyedits.com. That was taken. Nobody is using it for their website. Somebody is just holding it. Because what some people will do is to buy domain names, hold them for ransom, and then offer to sell them to you for like thousands or $2,000 something dollars. It happens. So I had to readjust and settle for easyedits.net, which it is still currently. If you go to the website, you can tell that I am targeting education clients, from students to teachers. It's all about education. My tag says, improve your writing skills today, take our classes, hire an editor. That's exactly what you can do. Sources to improve your writing skills. You can take online classes or hire me as your editor. So very straightforward right there in that opening tag. So this is the last iteration of this website. It actually was darker. I mean, I had different designs going, but this is the one that I settled on that looks more contemporary, that looks sleek. It has a really good look and feel to it. And it's all about writing resources, online classes, and how to send me your documents if you want me to consider editing your work. So there's a large photo slider at the top of the page. That was all the rage when I built this website. It is not now, but it still looks cute, so it's still there. As you scroll down the page, you will see links to books, links to teacher resources, my Urban Grammar Lady blog, links to my YouTube page. Again, this is targeted to educational students, staff, professionals, graduate students, anybody involved in the area of education. Let me say that as I'm recording this, there is a lot of background noise. It does not matter what time of day I am awake, there will be some noise. So I am sorry if you hear cars. There's been a lot of police sirens, a lot of ambulance sirens for some reason this evening. So if you're hearing that noise, then just try to forgive the noise because I will not be able to edit that out, unfortunately. So back to the website, easyedits.net. On the front page, I have icons to what I think is important, to what I want to promote. So when you're thinking about your website, you want to think about what you want people to do. What do you want people to focus on? What areas do you want them specifically to start browsing? And so that's what I try to do with this website. So I've got order now links, click here, hire me. Those short little imperative statements really help move people through the website and help them to take action. I also highlight essay writing videos on my YouTube page, copy editing services, free grammar exercises, downloads of writing tutorials, online writing courses, student reviews. This is all on the first page, which is a landing page format. There is a coupon code for 50% off my classes. I don't even know if people realize that it's there. There is a featured video, featured articles towards the bottom of the page, because I want people to be routed to the YouTube videos and also to understand that I have written quite a few articles that have been published online. At the very bottom, I share a quote from one of my first students. It is a student review. And reviews help build trust with people. It means, oh, somebody else spent money on her courses, then I should feel comfortable doing the same. Oh, this person really enjoyed the class, then I should have a similar experience. So especially if you are opening an online business, a freelance business, social proof is very important. But when you're first getting started, you don't have that yet. But keep at it and just consistently find clients that match you, your personality, that match the work that you do. And so you begin to ask them, hey, would you mind giving me a review? Would you mind telling people briefly about your experience? And most people will go ahead and give you a short quote or a short review. I work it into my online classes where there is a survey, a section where students can leave a review. So make it easy to get that sort of feedback from your customers. So again, the focus of the page is education. Across the top, the menu items also tell you the focus of this website. It says books, online classes, editing services, teachers, contact us. So again, books, online classes, editing service, and resources for teachers. That is the overall intention of this website, easyedits.net. So two things for those of you deciding to develop an online business, whether it's education related or not, your domain name is important. It is how you brand your business online. Keep it short and sweet. Do not make it too cutesy. Do not make it something like PineBluffInsuranceCompany.com, something long and convoluted. I actually have a blog post at arhampton.com/blog about how to choose your domain name. And I would advise you to go ahead and give that a read, because it's important information that you don't get anywhere else. You get it from people like me who have actually had experience with choosing domain names, helping people to choose domain names, and seeing the difference that it makes in your SEO and how clients actually respond to you when you have a proper domain name. Secondly, decide the focus of your web page. If you are offering a service, decide what you want people to focus on first. What services, especially if you offer more than one. So, do you want them to focus on your products or on your service? Make sure that you take a moment to think about what your clients should go to first when they hit your web page. What is going to draw their attention? Keep it short and sweet. Again, mine is books, online classes, editing sources, editing services, and resources for teachers. So two main things, your domain name and what is your focus, the focus of your website. So as I mentioned before, I created this website and I was so excited to get customers because I did not advertise. I have never taken out a paid advertisement online. I'm not sure how people found me, but they did. One thing I know is that I do an incredible SEO job when it comes to headings and content on my website. When it comes to keyword research, I have done an excellent job on that. So all of my clients have come organically, meaning through Google search is how they found me. So I was excited to get paying clients, right? Because I'm not doing this for free. I didn't charge a whole lot in the beginning, but I was excited about receiving money that easily for something that I don't mind doing. I actually like correcting people's writing. I actually like helping people to improve their writing and communication skills. I don't mind proofreading and editing. I'm not writing for people because writing takes a lot out of me. It takes a lot of time for me to write. It takes a lot of energy. And so I do not write for people, but I will correct what you have attempted to do. As I mentioned in the first episode, your business should be centered around your gifts and talents, your passions, your interests, stuff that you already naturally do and that you like to do. If you just try to jump on a bandwagon and force yourself to create a business that you think will just generate money, but that you don't particularly have a real interest in, you are not going to be successful. Let me say this. There is someone I know who has tried to do online personal coaching, like motivational speaking, coaching, wrote a book about, inspirational things. But this person was not particularly, that just wasn't their vibe. If you met them in person and actually had a conversation with them, that's not something they naturally talk about. They're not openly spiritual. You're not going to get into conversations with them really about religion or spirit. And I was always like, whenever I saw them post about it on Facebook, I'm like, why are you doing this? This is not you. They were already working in a field that could generate them a lot of money. This person could help people set up podcasting, could teach people how to podcast, to teach people how to modulate their voice to sound better on radio or on their videos, that sort of thing, broadcasting. They worked in that field and had a talent for that. Why wouldn't this person build a business around that? Especially because podcasting is so popular. Why did this person decide to do some inspirational personal coaching that wasn't even their vibe? This person got very frustrated and disappointed because they were not successful in these things. Honey, you're not successful in it because this is not something you are cut out to do. It's not your calling. This person got into that because it seemed like others were making money off of it. That's the thing now. It's like, become a coach, do an online class, have a Facebook page, have a YouTube page, have a podcast, have a book, have an ebook. I mean, there's hustle. Everybody is trying to hustle. But again, you should build a business and build your freelance services around things that you like to do, that you know how to do, and that you do not mind doing. Not just because you think it will generate you money. Because just like that person was not successful in inspirational personal coaching and couldn't understand why, you are not going to be successful in things that are not naturally on your frequency. I hate to say that, but I talk about vibes a lot, and I'm hearing about frequency a lot, but you understand what I mean. If it is not something that you have a natural affinity for, it's not going to work out for you. So as I was freelancing, I was also working either part-time or full-time. In the first episode, you heard about all of my jobs, all of my survival jobs and teaching jobs. Oh, there were so many. But I was freelancing, proofreading, and copy editing in the evenings and on the weekends for paid clients. And again, I received those clients through my website. I did not post it on LinkedIn. I didn't give business cards to people. The few customers I got were just organically. But I do like receiving money for things that I like to do. So I began to think, well, instead of trading time for money, let me start to create products. How can I package what I know how to do, what I know how to teach, into a product that is easy for me to sell and easy for people to access? And so this is when I sort of got into online classes. I'm not even sure how I first found out about it, but the company that was really hot at the time was Udemy, and they are still going strong, udemy.com. I believe my first class was a proofreading class. And I mean, I put so much into that class, posted it on Udemy, because back then, the commission share was 70% you and 30% them. So, that was pretty good. They were taking on the work of hosting your class and marketing your class. So their cut was 30%. Not a problem. So now we get into this idea of passive income from online classes. And I hear a lot of people saying semi-passive because it's not like you just stick something up there and the money rolls in. It takes quite a bit of work to plan out an online class, to come up with an idea, to create an outline, to think of all of the lessons, to think of the material to put in the lessons, to look at a blank PowerPoint page and fill it up with something, then record that PowerPoint presentation, to create a video, to use a video editor to edit that video, to compress it into a format where it can be easily shared. That's an MP4 video, to put together handouts and exercises and links to other resources. It takes a lot to build an online class. So when I built my proofreading class, it took a lot of work, a lot of effort. I always try to include videos, slides, a handout, and an exercise for each section. So that's a lot of little moving parts in each section of my online class. And this online class had about 10, 11, 12 sections. I kept putting things in and taking things out. So the proofreading class that is on udemy.com from me has gone through so many different drafts and revisions based on student feedback. I wish the class had covered this. She didn't do a lot on this part. I wish she had done more on that part. Everybody's a critic. Everybody's a complainer. And my thing is, well, why don't you do your own proofreading class then? No? Then stop it. Stop criticizing mine if you can't go out and create your own, right? So Udemy was good for a little while, but then people started pirating my classes, especially foreign agents and foreign websites. Somehow they were downloading all of the materials from Udemy and posting them on their own websites. How do I know this? I put my name in Google one time, and all of these crazy sites came up with my proofreading class on it. I was too outdone. And at the time, Udemy was like, well, that's what people do. Their security really sucked. So basically, whenever you put something online, anybody can take it. Just realize that. Whenever you post anything online, people can take it and try to make it their own. They can plagiarize it or just flat out steal it and put their name on it. So be very careful of what you post online. So I adjusted my classes to accommodate the pirating, right? So sometimes when students felt like they weren't getting a lot from the class, it was because I was thinking, let me put up the lessons I would not mind somebody stealing. Let me not put up my best stuff right now because I do not want somebody taking my class and then selling it for more money or giving presentations based off of my work. That was a real issue. So then Udemy became so lackluster to me. I think I posted a grammar class and one more beyond basic grammar class, and those classes are still available. But a lot of classes I took down. I think the spelling class is still there. And I decided I need another platform that's more secure, where I can put up my full classes and trust that it's not going to wind up on some skeezy, scammy website somewhere. So after a time with Udemy, I found Thinkific, and now a lot of people are finding Thinkific. It is a Canadian-based company, but their security is good. You cannot just download my material if I don't make it downloadable. You can't even copy and paste from the screen because they have an option where you can lock your materials, where people cannot just highlight from the screen and then copy your work. So I'm comfortable with them. The only thing about Thinkific is that it is not a marketplace. It is you having to hawk your own classes yourself. Unlike Udemy, they don't have marketing, a separate marketing department and marketing dollars where they market your class for you, but Udemy does. So in light of that, Udemy started taking 50%. And that's another reason why I started looking for different platforms. So it was no longer a 70-30 split in favor of the instructor. It was a 50-50 split. And that was their reasoning. Oh, we're doing all this marketing for you, so 50-50. Well, what about the hard work I put into building my class? Shouldn't I profit from my own work more than you? And so when you become a business owner, when you are a creative and you're getting into these contracts with people and into deals and partnerships with people, that's what you have to realize. You should be benefiting more than the other person. And if you're not, then that might not be such a good deal. Another platform that popped up was Teachable, but they are expensive. Okay. And they are the ones who are always promoting people who made $1 million off their classes. They made $10,000 off their classes because they charge you a lot of money a month to host your courses on their servers. So I went with Thinkific. They're really reasonable. I like them. I have built all of my full classes on Thinkific. In fact, you can go to my website, arhampton.com, click courses. You can also go to onyxedonline.com, onyxedonline.com. And did I tell you the story of why I had to choose onyxedonline.com? It's because I wanted Onyx Education, but that was taken. Somebody just hijacked the domain, but they don't have a website attached to it. Every name that I wanted was hijacked, meaning the domain was just parked, and I could get it for $2,000 if I wanted to, but I'm not paying that amount of money for anything. I'm just not. So I had to settle on onyxedonline.com because I think it was onyxedonline.edu. It was crazy. It was convoluted. So onyxedonline.com is a little shorter, a little catchier, a little easier to remember. So that is where we are today. So I was still teaching, but I began to freelance. As a result, I developed a website with the intentions of getting proofreading and editing clients, which I did for a little while. But then I decided to create products so that people could just buy a product from me and I didn't have to deal with people, their schedules, their likes, their dislikes, none of that. They could just put in their money and take my class, basically. So gradually, I stopped providing those services, and gradually people stopped submitting their documents for those services because my energy shifted and my focus shifted. So I was still teaching to have a steady paycheck, but now I'm developing online classes that are writing related. Why did I do that? I started posting lecture videos to help me in the classroom. I taught composition classes a lot and discovered that nobody could write. Oh my goodness. Very few students could write a sentence without some sort of error. So I was always having to talk about grammar, sentence fragments, run-on sentences. You need a period here. That's what that means. You need this. And always having to explain basics and rudiments of grammar. So I started making PowerPoint lecture videos so that students could just watch those videos instead of me having to repeat it over and over again in the classroom. So it saved me some time in the classroom from having to go over fundamentals. And if students didn't want to watch the video, then whatever, I'm not going to waste time teaching it in class because I'm trying to get you to write essays and you don't know what a verb is. So go watch that video in order for you to pass this class. Then it got really popular in K through 12 circles, and they started calling it flipping the classroom. And I remember giggling when I saw that because I was like, wow, I was flipping the classroom before it was popular. So now teachers do it all the time when students are absent or can't get to school physically. Hey, just watch these videos and do your work and submit it online. So I was doing that, again, well before it became a necessity. Now with the pandemic, that's how we operate now. We do just about everything online, including teaching and learning and education. So it's not that big of a deal. But back then, teachers were dead set on not getting on board with the digital revolution until they were absolutely forced to. So I started with lecture videos, and then it grew to a lot of online classes. Why have I done all of these online classes? Number one, because I knew people were not teaching grammar properly. And I don't care what industry you're in, you are going to have to know how to write well. I know this for a fact. You have to know how to write well. Well, in order to write well, you have to know grammar. So that's why I started putting out grammar classes, and then it turned into grammar books. Then from my proofreading classes, I developed proofreading books, 3 proofreading books. So I went from online classes to books, again, creating products that people could just buy in one shot and that they could easily access. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this podcast and we will continue with the next. Again, find my portal is arhampton.com. Just go to that website. Everything I do, all of the resources I have mentioned, the books, the online classes, easyedits.net, all of that you can find at arhampton.com. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share. And happy learning and happy building. Until the next time.